In this video we're going to be going over a skin rejuvenation treatment which we refer to as standard IPL with the 1200 plus. Now when I refer to standard IPL, that is our stamping technique. Placing the handpiece on the skin, pressing, flashing, lift off, pressing, flashing, lift off. With every treatment we go through and do our patch test on the underside of the forearm, which is done 24 hours prior. There is a video on that as well. And then we're going through and treating with those settings we got to on the patch test. We're treating the face, for example, and going through once right around the face, and then we've got a procedure through that as well. So with all of the treatments we're doing, we're slowly bringing the energy up in increments. We don't like to approach every treatment with, say for example, I did a skin type 3 last week and I got up to X energy level, and then we've got another skin type 3 in today, for example, and treating that one on the same energy level. What happens there is you generally get good results with 9 out of 10 clients, and then you'll have that one that you'll have an adverse reaction with. So what we recommend with all of our machines is follow the same procedure with every single customer and every single treatment. It's a slightly longer process, but you only generally need to do this process once, and then once you've got the settings all correct, unless anything changes on their follow-up treatment form, you can just use those same settings as you kind of progress through. So we'll go through now. We've cleansed the face, we've applied the round cotton pads under the goggles as well, purely because we've been working on the face. Sometimes there's a little gap around the side of the goggles. Now number one precaution with IPL treatments and laser treatments is the eyes, so we want to make sure that those are covered. And then we also use those round cotton pads to cover the brow as we work around there as well. We also use a uncoated wax strip, so I have one of those handy, and as we kind of move around the hairline, we'll be covering the hairline, and anything else that we don't want to treat we're covering with that wax strip. Now if there's any moles in the treatment area, we want to cover those with a white stationary dot. Make sure those are covered completely before you put your gel on, and then applying your gel and moving through for your treatment from there. So we'll apply the gel now, and then we'll set the machine up and get into it. So with the gel, we're just applying a generous layer, but not too thick. It's not so much for cooling with the 1200 plus. It's more for conductivity in terms of getting the energy into the skin. Now Skin Rejuve, you'll generally go over the upper lip and over the nose as well. So there's a trick to doing both of those areas, which we'll go over today. So in this treatment, we're going to be doing a full face Skin Rejuve. So that means generally down to the jawline, across the jawline, up over the forehead, nose and upper lip. Okay, so you should have already done the patch test on the underside of the forearm. So generally you'll have your settings written down, what you used when you did your patch test. So pressing enter, and you also know the skin type as well. So for this client, for example, that was a skin type 2. And then obviously we're going to be doing Skin Rejuve. So coming into here, coming into intense, into smart mode, and then that's all preset with our filter here. So we've already placed that in, so placed in the 510 filter. Now just making sure that we've always got the right filter in there. And then where we got to with our patch test was 32, so we're going to start off there, and then we're going to hit standby and ready and slowly look. Alright, so now we're just going to pick up the handpiece. We're going to press standby. That's going to illuminate the handpiece there, and then we're going to press ready. Now where I like to start normally is right on the base of the chin here, and we're taking the top of the crystal and placing it right in the middle. So we're doing our first one here, 3, 2, 1, and then just moving through 3, 2, 1, doing that one here, and then just working our way through here. So first 2 here, 1 here, and then I generally like to kind of move the handpiece sideways, and then just a bit of pressure on the goggle. I always want to keep the eye nice and safe. And then generally through by the sideburn there is an area where you can't always get the handpiece safely without potentially going over the hairline or going over the brow. So if that's the case, we will just avoid that area. We don't want to kind of squeeze it into every square centimetre of skin, where you do run into issues as if you're trying to wedge it in where it's not meant to go. Alright, so and then as we move through the forehead here, we're going to place one in here, just moving away from the brow as well. Get it as flat as possible. 3, 2, 1. So any blemishes that are on the skin or any pigmentation spots, they will feel a little bit more sensitivity there, so just keeping that in mind as you work through. And then always just giving a small barrier around any hair as well, and you always want to have your head on the side where you're trying not to treat. So for example, if we're coming up next to the hairline, I want to have my head on this side so I can see exactly where the handpiece is. And then I'm shifting across to the other side and checking the brow. And then just tilting the head towards you. And then we're just getting one more safely in here. Alright, and then we're just coming through. So we've done up the forehead here. Now we're just coming through here, keeping away from the hairline. And we can put a slight bit of pressure on this goggle. And there will be one here, and then two on the chin, and just keeping away from the upper or from that lip. All right, now we're going to go across the upper lip. So we're going to get the client to put their tongue in between their teeth and the upper lip. So now we've got a much bigger treatment area to work with. Now we're once again joining the top of the crystal right in the middle there, same as we did on the chin, and just covering that upper lip with your wax strip. 3, 2, 1. And 3, 2, 1. Alright, and then we're moving on to the nose. So obviously this crystal was quite a bit bigger than the nose. So a little trick here, what we're doing is we're going to place it on there, and then we're going to cover the rest of the crystal with the wax strip. 3, 2, 1. And across the top of the nose, 3, 2, 1. And then one more over here. And then we're just going to hang the handpiece up, come off ready, come off standby. So then once we've hung that up, what we want to do is take a good look at the skin after that first pass. So where we finished on this side, there's a slight bit of erythema there, a little bit of pinkness to the skin, which is absolutely fine. But where we started, we want to make sure that the skin looks almost untouched. Maybe at very worst, a little bit of pinkness to the skin. And that would be an indication that we could potentially do a second pass. Now, if the skin where we started looks exactly like where we just finished, we wouldn't do any more. But for this client, for example, in this treatment area where we started, the skin looks absolutely fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to leave it on that same setting and go through and do our next pass. Now we're just going to start with press standby and then into ready. So just starting on the middle of the chin there. 3, 2, 1. So I always generally count down on my first flash and then just carry on from there. So trying to keep the handpiece as flat as possible. And keeping away from that eye. And moving through into the forehead, so keeping away from the brow, keeping away from the hairline. So I've given the brow a decent distance there. And same with the hairline at the top. Keeping it nice and flat. Keeping away from that brow again. Now everyone's forehead is going to be different. Some people you'll get a pass in here, probably one in here, and then maybe one that way. It doesn't matter how you position your handpiece. What you're just trying to do is get all of the treatment area and not overlap. Last one in here, and then just tucking this one down here. So this way of going through the area here, so 2 across the chin, 1 down here, and then sideways across here is pretty uniform for most clients, and that'll generally cover the area quite comfortably. All right, and then just moving across the upper lip again. So covering the lip. And then onto the nose, so covering that crystal. Same on the top of the nose, and then same around the side. Right, so then you can just hang the handpiece up, come off ready, and off standby. So then once we've done those 2 passes over the treatment area, we're going to write down our setting that we got to. In the technician comments, we're going to write that we did 2 passes over that treatment area at 32, for example. And then when the client comes back in a month's time for their second treatment, we're going to increase the energy level to 34. We very easily got around that treatment area twice at energy level 32. So then that would be an indication that we could bring it up to 34. Now, when the client comes back in for that next treatment at 34, you may find that you'll only go over the treatment area once. So what we're trying to do is slowly in increments bring the energy up to where we can get it as high as possible with the client feeling comfortable and the skin not reacting too much to the treatment. So the reason why we take that approach is that it almost rules out any adverse reactions or minimizes them as much as possible, but also means that you're getting a high enough setting where you're going to see a really good result. So in terms of the energy level settings, as you progress through your treatments, you may be within 6 above the top recommended settings. So on this one here, we've got 26 to 32 on the recommendation. We got to 32 with our patch test procedure, and then we take that energy level 32 and we slowly increase it as we go through our series of treatments. Now that would mean that we would be up to energy level 38 or somewhere around there as we get to maybe our 4th or 5th treatment. Now, what we recommend for a pigmentation, skin rejuve, vascular, acne treatment is a course of 4 to 5 treatments and spaced 1 month apart. And then after they've finished that course of treatments, you can gauge it from there. So they may come back every 2nd month, for example, or they may want to come back every month from there too. Now, once the treatment's complete, we'll remove all the gel off the client, and then we'd generally put on a aftercare hydrator or even an aloe vera gel or something on after the skin, just to kind of cool the skin down. So with this treatment being standard IPL, there is still a bit of rubber band flick and heat that goes into the skin. So with this treatment here, it's delivering all this energy. So what we're working with here is an energy level of 10.6 joules of energy per square centimeter. It's delivering all that energy in one flash, so 10.6 joules of energy into the dermis. And with that, it's obviously traveling through the epidermis. So it heats the epidermis up to a similar temperature as the dermis, and that's where you get that little bit of erythema and that rubber band flick, that kind of heat sensation. Whereas with hair removal, it's delivering over a series of sweeps or a series of stacks. So it's slightly different. So when I'm referring to standard IPL, it is that stamping technique, point and flash. So place on the skin, flash, lift off, flash, lift off. So with a skin rejuve treatment, you're generally going to see an overall enhancement of the skin. You're going to see stimulation of collagen, evening out of skin tone, and then it's going to also help with blemishes and minor pigmentation as well. Now, if you're wanting to target any of those specifically, so acne, vascular, or pigment, we're going to choose the pigmentation or vascular treatment, for example. That's going to just target it a little bit better, and it's going to adjust the pulse widths and delays to target that condition a little bit better. So that's the skin rejuvenation treatment done with the 1200 plus. Now, remembering that same procedure that we went through there with our patch test and our pass around the treatment area being the face and our increases of energy is exactly the same for your vascular, pigmentation and acne. You're all just looking for different outcomes with the treatment. It's all the same procedure. So like always, if you've got any questions for us, you can ring the office or catch us on email at any time.